So watching the footage on the black man that got shot in Miami by the officer, who the black guy was a behavior therapist trying to calm down an autistic child who had a toy truck in his hand that the officers could have easily mistaken for a gun, and he's telling them that there's a truck on there. He's on the ground with his hands up, and the officer still shoots him. He asks the officer, according to the reports from the media, I'm going to use that term loosely, the media says that he asked the officer why he shot him, and the officer says, I don't know. Well, I don't know. That's a funny phrase, don't you think? I don't know. I don't know. How many times is that going to be used as an excuse for stuff? I don't know. Because I look at it this way. First off, let me say this. Are all cops bad? No. The vast majority of police officers that work in our country are working to protect and serve. Now, the truth is that the system in which they work in is bad, which causes the system to protect the few bad cops that there are and exacerbate the issue. It makes it so much worse that the bad cops are protected, which, if you're going to protect the bad cops, then in which case, if I follow that logic, then yes, that makes all police officers bad. But the truth is, most of the women and men that put on that uniform are trying to do their jobs and trying to do them the right way. But answering the question of why this police officer said, I don't know, people are like, well, why would he say, I don't know? Why would he shoot him? Well, it's pretty simple. Let me put it this way. The man said, I don't know, not because he didn't know why he shot him. He said, I don't know, because he's conditioned to do those things. Look at America and the way we are. If you want to talk about, if we want to talk about psychology just for a second, and we want to talk about conditioning, where you repeatedly have somebody do something or watch something and it actually becomes a part of them. Like, you are conditioned in the morning when you wake up. Most people are conditioned to get up, brush their teeth, wash their face, all those kinds of things. Why? Because you've made it a habit. You've habitually done it long enough that you no longer have to think about it when you do it. It's just something that you do. Well, think about America here. We have habitually murdered people, habitually enslaved people, habitually hurt people, habitually done these things. And now that it's coming back, now that the chickens have come home to roost, we're getting statements like, well, I don't know why he shot him. Well, it's pretty simple. You shot him because that's what we are conditioned to do in America. We are conditioned to believe that certain groups of people are more dangerous than others when that's not even the case. I mean, think about it. Most of Americans are conditioned. We are conditioned to believe that all Muslims are somehow evil, which is not true. We're conditioned to believe that black people are violent or lazy, which is not true. We have been conditioned that white is right, that the epitome of culture is to be that rich white middle class person or upper middle class person with the white picket fence, and that's still by and large the American dream, when the reality is most of us don't even have access to that dream. So when we're sitting here talking about these things, when he says, I don't know, we really need to address, I don't know. What we need to do as Americans and what we need to do from all different races is take away the excuse of, I don't know. It's kind of like when when you're a child and you got in trouble for something and your mom and dad looks at you and says, well, why did you do that? And you look at them and say, I don't know. It's the same thing. At some point, your parents look at you and they say, you're old enough to know better. So here we are with America, 270 some odd years old, give or take. And she's still saying, I don't know. You murder, pillage practically the entire genocide of the Native Americans. And yeah, they get a little bit of reparations and some sovereign territory. And that's supposed to make everything okay. You rounded up honest Japanese Americans and placed them in internment camps, which are not that different from the concentration camps that were across the pond in Germany during World War II. And you give them some reparations and say, oh, we're sorry. You use and exploit the Chinese to make your railroads. You exploit Africans, give us no reparations, give us the short end of the stick on everything, hamper our process to society, and America still says things are fair. How are things fair when we live in an age where we have the most diverse Supreme Court we've ever had? Of the 8 justices that are still remaining, of course, Anton Scalia kicked the bucket, but of the 8 justices that are still remaining, you've got a Hispanic woman, a liberal woman, a Jewish woman on there, a black man. It's the most diverse court we've ever seen, but that is also the same court that took away most of the provisions of the Voting Rights Act in 1964. Stating it was no longer necessary. And the second that they end that, what happens? States all over the country start putting up different voter registration laws. The same thing that Martin and everybody else marched for to fight against, they bring it right back, saying that it was no longer necessary in this age. Do not be deceived, people. Watch what's going on. You have to look at the reasons behind things, because when we're looking at these, it's easy to point fingers at the individuals, which, don't get me wrong, the individuals are wrong for some of their actions, but we have to look behind that. Why are these people doing these things? Why? Ask yourselves why.